So, greetings, friends. Today's talk is on the Eightfold Path in general, and on the concentration factors of right effort and right mindfulness in particular. It comes up often in class, either as a question of what is the appropriate effort to develop the Dhamma, but often also as a comment of the Sangha members recognizing the benefits of their effort, and how recognizing the benefits of their effort reinforces right effort. As in the overarching premise of the Eightfold Path is to recognize and abandon individual contributions to confusion, deluded thinking, and the resulting ongoing disappointing life experiences that follow from that. Let me read the Buddha's words just to get started here. In relation to concentration, the Buddha says there are four developments of concentration. There is a development of concentration that leads to a pleasant abiding here and now. There is a development of concentration that leads to the attainment of knowledge and vision. There is a development of concentration that leads to mindfulness and alertness. And there is a development of concentration that leads to unbinding and the cessation of suffering. That's from the Anguttara Nikaya. So the Buddha, right, in that statement, is emphasizing that that concentration is a primary factor of awakening. You remember a few weeks ago we were talking about the 7 factors of awakening. A mind that is constantly distracted by its own wrong views of itself in relation to the world can never awaken. The distraction is simply too great to overcome by mere desire or motivation. It takes the entire framework of the Eightfold Path to develop awakening, and it takes concentration to be able to hold in mind the refined mindfulness that establishes the Eightfold Path as the framework for awakening. The Buddha states that right effort is avoiding inappropriate thoughts, words, and deeds that have yet arisen. That simply means to be mindful of what's occurring in your mind. To abandon inappropriate thoughts, words, and deeds that have arisen. Again, it takes a level of concentration to recognize inappropriate or unskillful thoughts and the resulting words and deeds. Develop appropriate thought, words, and deeds that have yet arisen. And that points directly to something we talked about last night in class. As we deepen our concentration and learn to recognize and abandon unskillful thoughts and thought patterns, we are then able to develop and hold in mind what is skillful. As the Buddha said in the Pitaka Sutta, we gain the ability to think what we want to think when we want to think it. And isn't that a marvelous thing, that we actually gain control of our thinking? That is really a key point of the Dhamma, and it's indicative of a well-concentrated mind, that mind can think what it wants to think whenever it wants to think. So important. And then the Buddha says to maintain appropriate thoughts, words, and deeds for continual development of non-confusion and skillful qualities that have arisen. So again, the Buddha is pointing out the importance to gain control of our thinking and to take that to the level, to develop it to the point where we are in control of every thought that we have. And that might seem like an unattainable goal, but it's not. That's the point of an awakened human being. A fully mature human being is one who thinks what they want to think when they want to think it. Just wanted to find another quote here in relation to right effort. This is from the Samyutta Nikaya, and it points directly to how we engage with the Eightfold Path. The Buddha's words: one efforts to abandon wrong view. So how do we effort to abandon wrong view? We first have to effort to recognize wrong view. Wrong views are any views that are contrary to the Four Noble Truths. And I know you hear me say this often, that the Buddha, everything the Buddha taught for his entire 45-year teaching career was taught in the context of Four Noble Truths. And you could say taught in that context to recognize and abandon any and all unskillful thoughts. And so how do we recognize those? Any thoughts that create an excitement in the mind, but any thought that is self-referential in nature or seeks to establish a permanent self where a permanent self can't be established, which is, an understanding of self is that the self is always in a constant process of becoming. And when that process of becoming is framed by the Eightfold Path, then that mind will be increasingly inclined towards becoming awakened. Let's go back that half a line. One, efforts to abandon wrong view, wrong intention, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong mindfulness, and wrong meditation, and develop the skillful or the corresponding qualities of right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right mindfulness, and right meditation. The Buddha concludes that by stating this is one's right effort. So, of course, we have to develop a certain measure of concentration simply to discern the difference between right or unskillful views or right or unskillful intention, etc., or right or unskillful meditation. The Buddha repeatedly emphasized the need for an Eightfold Path as a path to awakening, not something that was based on concepts such as being engaged in saving the world, not in something such as being a bodhisattva, the same view, not in appeasing or appealing to deities, not through endless chanting or bowing or prostration. The Buddha never taught any of that. You can't find that anywhere in the Pali Canon, at least. In the Sutta Pitaka, I should say. There's some in the Abhidhamma, but that's not a teaching of the Buddha. And here the Buddha is very clear about what effort is. One's effort is to develop and integrate the Eightfold Path as the path to awakening. And then the Buddha goes on and describes this even more succinctly. Abandon what is unskillful. And anything that is related to craving and clinging is certainly unskillful. Right intention is the intention to recognize and abandon craving and clinging. So it's reinforced here by what the Buddha is saying in right effort. Abandon what is unskillful and develop what is skillful. The Buddha is very clearly pointing out to abandon anything that is outside the framework of the Eightfold Path and develop the skillfulness of each factor of the Eightfold Path. Then he says, one of the most interesting things to me, if it were not possible to abandon what is unskillful and develop what is skillful, I would not teach this. For many, many years, when I was engaged in modern Buddhism, it was always presented to me as a riddle, as unattainable, as it takes endless lifetimes to develop awakening. It's often portrayed as, and even stated, that the humans have devolved to such a state that awakening is no longer possible. And of course, these things are said by people that don't understand what the Buddha taught and have no understanding of the direct path to awakening, because the Buddha repeatedly said that. If it were not possible to abandon what is unskillful, meaning anything outside of the Eightfold Path, and develop the Eightfold Path, I would not teach this. He teaches a path for that when engaged with right effort and right mindfulness and the other factors of the Eightfold Path, awakening is achievable. In fact, you could read into the Buddha's words, almost guaranteed here, to awaken in this lifetime. The Buddha taught, that the path to awakening is a path to be fulfilled in this lifetime. It's not something that is unattainable or will take endless lifetimes. And this again points directly to right effort. If it's possible to awaken in this lifetime, why not do it now? The Buddha continues, if it were harmful to abandon what is unskillful and develop what is skillful, I would not teach this. So oftentimes, especially during when we first begin meditation and a practice integrating the Eightfold Path, letting go of self-referential views often feels like annihilation. It often feels painful. There's often some fear that comes up intermittently during our meditation practice and often off our cushions. And the Buddha is offering comfort here by saying if it was in any way hurtful to awaken, he wouldn't teach it. There is nothing hurtful. There's nothing lost except views rooted in ignorance of Four Noble Truths. And it is those views that hold us back. It is those views that continue confused and diluted thinking and contribute to ongoing disappointing experiences. Once right effort is engaged in, as described here, and is utilized to incorporate and integrate the entire Eightfold Path as a path to awakening, there's a sutta, I can't think of the name of it, that's subtitled the Wings to Awakening. Once the Eightfold Path is engaged in wholeheartedly, the wings to awakening become apparent. Mary was saying a few weeks ago about once we understand right effort and engage in right effort, the path itself takes on its own type of motivation. And that's not to say that there'll never be any difficulty in developing awakening, but the overall feeling when right effort is engaged in is one of joyful engagement. We understand that what we're doing is entirely for our benefit, but also for those that are closest to us, and really, in a true sense, for all of humanity. And that's why you often hear me say, the most loving thing I can do for myself and for all other sentient beings is to engage in right effort and awaken. So that being mindful of right effort is a way of maintaining a focus on the Dhamma. Being mindful of right mindfulness, meaning what to hold in mind, or to hold in mind the continual and gentle right effort to awaken, is so important. And then to use our right effort to integrate the entire Eightfold Path as our framework for awakening. So that's today's talk. Thank you for joining me. If you find benefit from this talk, please consider a donation at becoming-buddha.com. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Peace.